Hello everyone, my name is the Jurassic Insider and welcome back to Jurassic World, the game. This episode is going to be a little bit different than the usual, where I'm going to be doing a showcase of every single super rare creature in the game. I've done this before for the common and rare creatures, which you can check out both of those videos on the link card right here. But it was honestly really fun to do those, and it's just a nice little educational video that's something a little bit different on the channel. I mainly make it for the purpose of maybe somebody will find it interesting or possibly useful if they're doing their own project or if they're just looking for stuff. Obviously, you can find all of this online somewhere. It's not really super necessary, but at least you can see the max looks and designs of every creature, which is something you can't easily see on websites and stuff. You really have to look at a YouTube video or search it up online. So this could be like a nice little area. I'll provide some chapters down below. Or if you just want to hang out and just listen to me talk about some creatures in Jurassic World game, that's fine as well. I will be making a ranking of every super rare creature as well once I get to that. That will be coming soon. But let's get started here. And just a little bit of a disclaimer here. Now that we hit the super rare territory, there are a couple more rules. As usual, this does not include hybrids. This is every creature max, but not hybrids. Just because even if I had every super rare hybrid, I would not be able to max it. It would not be a good idea to max it just for this one video. So those will not be included. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but maybe we'll get to a hybrid video at some point. But for now, that's where we're at. Also, now that we've hit the super rare territory, like I said, there's not going to be any aquatics or Cenozoics. Those do exist, and they are super rare creatures technically. However, I'm just going to be including Jurassic dinosaurs, basically, or I guess Jurassic creatures. Hopefully that's all pretty intuitive. I think that makes sense for the most part, and I think that's what people are going to be interested in anyways. So here you go. Even if you don't really care about this video, that's perfectly fine. This is just for the people who want it, or the people who just want to sit down and watch a little video. I'm going to try to make it not super long, because again, I just want to get the main stuff down, and then yeah, we'll be good. Let's get started. We're going to be going in order of DNA cost, starting with the Joplocephalus, if that's even how you say it. That's how I say it. I think it's right. This guy starts off as the cheapest super rare creature. Of course, it doesn't really matter with some of these like this one because they're only accessible through the Amber Market, and that's sort of what's going on with Joplocephalus here. It is one of the weaker super rares, not the weakest, but it has 969 health and 248 attack, which is the same as Supranatitan. And it's got this maxed armor design, something you would expect from the Ankylosaurus, but it's also got a big tank design on the back, which is a little bit unique to Joplocephalus. And there is actually one more tanked herbivore that we'll see later on that's also part of the super rares. Next up here we got Zygiangopterus. This guy is a bird, he's a pterosaur, and he also has similar stats to another creature, I guess the same stats to another creature, which is a pattern we see a lot with the super rares, where he has 793 health and 303 attack. He's a little bit more attack-sided, but overall very well balanced. His base design is quite simple, however, he does get this sort of elegant, almost aerial look to him as he gets a little bit older, I guess, as he gets evolved. And it's got a nice little look to it, and that's basically the entirety of this creature. It's very simple, one of the more simple super rares, but there it is. Oh yeah, of course, this guy makes Tropicoteris, which is a super rare pterosaur hybrid mixed with a common, to make this relatively mid in terms of stats creature, but nevertheless it is one of the easiest super rare hybrids to get, so that is a plus, I guess. But overall, that's about him. Okay, technically the next two creatures have the exact same DNA cost, but I'm going to start with Parasaurolophus because it can't be unlocked with DNA. It's unlocked in the Amber Market, and so that seems to be sort of the trend that they're doing right now. But here is Parasaurolophus. This is a very well-known, very common dinosaur, one of the 6 species from the original movie. He also has similar stats to another creature with 881 health and 275 attack, which is the lowest of any super rare. It's actually got a decent fair bit more attack than some other creatures, but its health is quite low, and overall the stats in general are quite low. However, it's definitely not a bad creature at all. It's got some good things going for it, like a really cool design that doesn't go super crazy, but it's got a nice simplistic look to it. And you can see all the evolutions here, which I have not collected, so that'll be a good chance for me to do that. Yeah, got a bit of this brown smoky look, which is kind of interesting and a little bit different from the other creatures. This guy makes Bonitasaura, which is a fairly uncommon super hybrid. Not many people have it, even higher level accounts, because it's notoriously not very good. However, it's still definitely not a bad creature as it is, and Parasaurolophus is solid enough. So there is there. Ankylosaurus is another very well-known herbivore dinosaur. It's probably the most well-known ankylosaur, and it looks really awesome in my opinion. It's got a very different look for sure compared to the other guys. It's got like almost this I kind of think it looks like a bug, and it gets a huge jump up from level 30 to level 40. I mean, there is a massive shift in how it looks for sure. It's definitely got a much more tanky design at level 40. However, it does come with some of the best stats, despite it being on kind of the cheaper side, with 1011 health and 259 attack, and you only have to complete an event for this guy. So it's actually one of, in my opinion, the better super rares to get, especially since this hybrid is also one of the best, if not the best super rare hybrid as it is. Ankylodocus is great, it's really useful, very powerful, and it's not really an entry-level hybrid, but it's definitely affordable at the beginning of the game. So it's definitely a good hybrid to get, so this is definitely a very accessible creature for that reason. Next up, we got Rajasaurus, or as the beaver calls him, Rage. And yeah, he looks awesome, obviously. I mean, you can't hate the Rage. It looks really cool. He's got a nice round head, kind of like a Majungasaurus almost, but it's got a very rounded design, some really cool colors. But overall, not a crazy creature, especially in terms of stats. This guy is tied for the weakest since he has the same stats as Parasaurolophus. So overall, obviously, they're not amazing stats, but he's still pretty solid all around. And he does have a decent hybrid, which is actually a legendary hybrid, Rajastega, which can be mixed with Ichthyostega to make a really cool hybrid there. So that's obviously all nice and good. But overall, a very simple creature, but I mean, you gotta love the Raj, so he's pretty cool. Next up, we've got Quetzalcoatlus, another bird here, who also has a very avian design, just like Zgangopterus. This guy has a very tropical look to him, a lot of aqua colors, which is pretty weird, but not completely unknown for these type of creatures. But yeah, overall, it's really cool, and it's got some good health with 891 health, also some good attack, 278, basically putting it over most of the things we've seen so far, excluding Ankylosaurus. It's overall very solid. It's hybrid though. It's a little bit harder to get. Pteroquetzal was added more recently compared to all these other hybrids, so it is kind of harder to get. But otherwise, it is a very cool creature. Next up, we got Metriorhynchus. There are 3 super rare amphibians in total, and this guy is definitely not the most interesting in my opinion. He's sort of just the more basic one. He's just a normal crocodile, which is honestly fine though. He shares the same stats as Zgangopterus with 793 health and 303 attack. Again, a bit more attack-sided, but overall balanced. It's got a very simple level 40 design. It just sort of starts out as a crocodile with a fin tail and sort of ends as a crocodile with a fin tail with a few more interesting colors thrown into the mix. Overall, a really cool dinosaur. It is unfortunately only unlockable through the Amber market, and honestly, it doesn't even matter for this guy since his hybrid isn't super desirable. Metriolong is one of the weaker super rare hybrids, one of the cheaper ones as well, but yeah, definitely not one of the more desirable or sought after hybrids, so that's why this guy hasn't really became super famous or well known. Overall, still a very well done creature, even if it doesn't have the most battle potential. The next 4 creatures actually have the exact same DNA cost, so it really doesn't matter the order we cover it in. So we're going to start with Velociraptor. Probably even the most well-known out of all the super rares. There's a lot of all-stars here, but Velociraptor, I mean, we all know Velociraptor. We all love Velociraptor. It's pretty cool. And it does take an interesting design here, where the original design does look a lot like the original Jurassic Park Raptors. Everything up until Evo 3, and then Evo 4, you kind of get into those spikes and stuff, and then it sort of becomes its own entity. But yeah, this creature is completely iconic. Everybody knows it. And it's got a solid 800 health and then 306 attack, which is pretty great, honestly. And a very useful creature, especially considering it's hybrid. You're going to need a max Velociraptor if you're going to want to get Indominus Rex, which a lot of people are going to want that. So therefore, you're going to be getting Velociraptor max, so it's a pretty cool creature for that reason alone, on top of being just overall really good. Spinosaurus has very similar stats to Velociraptor, except it's got a lot more health at 978 and a bit of a drop down in attack with 250. This guy is unlocked during an earth-shattering event, and it's quite a useful creature to get, not only because it's Spinosaurus, but because it's got a really cool design, and also his hybrid, again, is quite good with Spinoraptor, who's a really good mid-level hybrid, who got even better, especially since Carniraptor sort of got nerfed with the whole Amber Market introduction, and having Pyroraptor not able to be unlocked, Spinoraptor sort of stepped up and taken its place. If not completely replaced it, it's at least, become sort of more on par with it. But overall, it's a very strong hybrid and definitely a strong creature overall that can definitely be really useful. Good coin production. Overall, a good creature. I mean, it is my favorite dinosaur in the game, so I have a little bit of bias calling this guy one of my favorites. But yeah, he definitely is. Next up, we got Stegosaurus, who has 982 health and 251 attack, which is very similar to Spinosaurus, just a little bit better. And here, Stegosaurus sports a really cool autumn design, very huge, elaborate spikes, but honestly, it stays that way throughout the entire design. The level 40 design just really brings it to a new lens. It looks very goofy, but the autumn design is definitely felt, and it's a really cool look for it. And it has another really great hybrid, Stegoceratops. A lot of great super rare hybrids, but this one in particular is kind of necessary, honestly, because it is made with the cheapest creature in the game, being Triceratops, of course. It's got a really cool design. It's overall just very useful, has a super hybrid and everything. It's a very accessible, easy to get hybrid, so it makes Stegosaurus a lot more worth it. It's unlockable through battle stage, which only 4 super rares are. So there's a lot going for Stegosaurus. Again, I'll talk more about all the specifics of, you know, what's good about each creature, what's kind of bad about each creature in my ranking video. But for now, just know that it is a good creature. So those are essentially the basics. While it's not the most expensive of the super rares, it is the strongest. Velociraptor Gen 2 by far takes the cake as the strongest creature. 1023 health and 320 attack. This thing is an absolute beast. Of course, it was introduced way later than the rest of the super rares, so it does have that advantage, and the Gen 2s were originally always meant to be a lot stronger than the Gen 1s. Of course, it makes Indominus Rex Gen 2 as a byproduct, and it was recently able to be unlocked through the Gen 2 Fury event. Of course, it was a one-time event, so it's not exactly predictable when it will come back, or if it even will come back, so it was definitely a once in an opportunity sort of thing, but even then, it's still really useful, and you can still get quite a few copies. I haven't personally bought any copies, and I still have tons of these guys, as you can see, which really speaks to how good it is as a very utility creature. Obviously, the design isn't as cool as the original Velociraptor. It's got more of a camo design, which is kind of cool, but obviously, again, I don't think it stands up to the other design, which was probably tested on a lot more, and it's a lot more original. This guy is basically, essentially, it is just a reskin, which there's nothing wrong with that, but, you know, it just is the case. So overall, a very useful creature, a very useful hybrid. Overall, very, very, I mean, it's Velociraptor Gen 2, VG2. Aerotitan's an interesting one here. It was one of the later super rares to be introduced as well. It's also the only super rare creature without a hybrid. Again, just Jurassic we're talking here. But it does actually have something unique, which is, I believe it's the only one of these creatures that is a complete glass cannon. Yes, it is. Okay. It's the only one of these creatures that's a glass cannon. It can kill itself in one hit, the only super rare to do that. So Aerotitan was definitely really good for that. It's just got strong stats in general, which make it really good. And a very unique design that stands out a lot with that aquamarine color going down his back with the fur. It does look really, really cool. The one thing that does suck about Aerotitan is that it's basically impossible to make copies of. For some reason, this guy isn't unlocked in battle stage, events, or in the Amber Market. The first two kind of make sense because there are many creatures like that, but really the Amber Market makes no sense. It's the only creature that's a Jurassic creature that's not a tournament creature or a VIP, I guess. Again, a lot of filters, a lot of restrictions, but if you get what I'm saying, it's like the only common, rare, super rare, and regular legendary creature, Jurassic creature, that's not a hybrid, that's unlockable, that's not unlockable through any of those methods, which is kind of strange. I'm not exactly sure why this guy in particular, but I mean, they just did it, so it's kind of weird. I hope they fix it at some point or choose to introduce it into the Amber Market, but if not, this guy definitely is still really cool. And again, he doesn't have a hybrid, so it doesn't really matter that much. Overall, a cool creature. Weirdly enough, the last two creatures are both amphibians, and they're some of the strongest super rare creatures out there. First up, we got Caprasuchus. This guy, he's pretty rad. He's got an awesome gator design that really stands out and makes it look really different. He was one of the first four-legged crocodilians introduced into the game with that cool animation set and everything. Very distinct design, very memorable, and very memorable stats as well, because it's got 1245 health and 209 attack. Having that much health really helps this guy in the end game, because usually the creatures with those extremes are a lot more useful since they can be used as health tanks or as complete glass cannons. You know, it doesn't really matter the rarity if they've got one of those stats that are really good, even if the other one isn't, you know, that good. So definitely this guy, you wouldn't put him in a normal battle, at least at my stage in the game. But, you know, having that health maybe could be useful. I've used it a lot. So that definitely makes this guy really good. He's also got a tournament hybrid, which is exclusive to him and one other creature in this super rare rarity. He makes Gorgosuchus, which is one of the strongest amphibians in the entire game. So that's really good that it's accessible through such a cheap creature. Overall, just a very, very cool looking creature that's got a lot going for him. And finally, last super rare, the most expensive, if the third strongest, is Pastasuchus. Good old Pasta. Also got that four-legged design that Caprasuchus has. except it is the polar opposite with having 552 health in 402 attack. Probably the biggest glass cannon in the entire game. That's not a tournament creature again, putting those restrictions on again, but of the original creatures that were added in the first couple updates, this guy was a big deal because he was a huge glass cannon, could barely stand on his own feet. I mean, he only has over 100 health on his original Evo, so that definitely made him very much of a standout. But overall, a very useful creature regardless. Again, Caprisuchus and Postasuchus, I use them way more than any other super rare creature in the game, basically. I occasionally use Spinosaurus because he's got a lot of health for a carnivore, and I can use him for a glass cannon, but I don't really use VG2 and the other strong ones like Ankylosaurus, unless if I'm using a super only event or if I'm in a tournament. It speaks to how good these two guys are because of the fact that their stat difference is so much. But regardless, Postasuchus, he rounds it off right there. And there it is. There is every single super rare creature in Jurassic World, the game. Again, Jurassic and non-hybrid. And that's all their max designs, that's the max creatures. Hopefully this video was informal. I mean, I'm pretty sure all you guys can just look this up. It's not a super huge deal. But hopefully, you know, if you're a little bit lower leveled, you haven't seen some of these max designs before, or if you're just interested and curious and just want to see, you know, this whole collection together. Because I know a lot of people, they get the hybrids and they're not super interested in getting the creatures back. So maybe it's been a while since you've seen some of these guys. I don't know. For whatever reason you watched this video all the way through, I'm super glad you did, and I appreciate you for that. So thank you all so much for watching this episode of Jurassic World, the game. Let me know if you guys want to see the legendary video coming up soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it immediately because I think I'm going to get a max Compsognathus because, again, Draco Navinator is coming out, and that means Compsognathinator is coming out. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. If Dodo is a requirement for the Collector's Exchange or something else crazy happens, I won't be able to get Draco Navinator immediately. But either way, I think not either way. We'll only get a max compy if you know, I need the hybrid. Otherwise, there's no point in getting a max compy. So we'll see. Once Draco Navinator's Collector's Exchange comes out, then I'll decide. I'll be like, okay, if it's impossible for me to get it because I didn't get Dodo, then, you know, whatever, I'll just not do that. And we'll just do the legendary max video at another time. Because, again, I want to have the complete collection. I don't want to have so many different, like, asterisks on it. Because I know we're already starting to have a lot of asterisks. So, anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching. And I will see you all next time. This is Jurassic Insider signing out. Cool! Yeah, so let's speed it up. Very expensive to speed it up, but